Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Welcome aboard wherever you're tuning in from this evening, tomorrow, whenever you get a chance to catch today's episode. Glad to have you aboard as we get set up to discuss two names that we've discussed for a long time over the course of this channel here on Dolynny TV. I think if you go find some Travis Konecny videos or Cory Perry videos, you're going to find one or two or three or four at this point. But of course, today connecting both of them once again to the Edmonton Oilers, thanks to Oilers insider Bob Stauffer, host of Oilers Now, who obviously had some goods for us this evening and has kind of made some points on the Oilers over the course of the past few days. Now, when we get to it, friends, before we get too far into the video, I want to make sure to ask you, please consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. About 582 subscribers short of 15,000 entering tonight's video. So I'd love to have you join aboard for what's going to be a fun trade deadline and obviously a very fun end of the season now that the Oilers have two 8-game win streaks on the calendar. So here we go. This is in regards to Cory Perry and the Edmonton Oilers bottom six from Bob Stauffer on Oilers Now. It's his expectation that the Oilers will add one top six forward and two bottom six forwards. One of those bottom six forwards will be Dylan Holloway. That much we've known for a couple of weeks now since he was sent to Bakersfield to work on being a center. And then as well, the Edmonton Oilers connected here in the above tweet from Oiler Alert, kind of getting the transcription here. I think the Let's Go Oilers have to contemplate looking at Cory Perry 100%. So for the Oilers, that's your Cory Perry connection right there. Bob Stauffer also noting over the past few days that should Travis Konecny be available from the Philadelphia Flyers, that the Edmonton Oilers have to take a big time look at swinging for a guy who's currently on pace for a 40-goal season as a right winger for the Philadelphia Flyers, who have been shockingly, I think, pretty good this season. So when it comes to Travis Konecny, the aforementioned stats I'm talking about, 36 points this year, 40 games played, 19 minutes on the ice. So a guy who would slot in perfectly to the right of Leon Draisaitl, 5'10", just above 190 pounds, a guy who plays that Philadelphia Flyers brand of hockey quite often, 15.4 shooting percentage this season as well. So a lot to like there from Travis Konecny. Obviously, as I said, this is not the first time I've connected him to the Edmonton Oilers, nor talked about him possibly being traded to the Edmonton Oilers. The details there on that, though, as we continue along here as well, is that Travis Konecny has an extra year left after this year on his deal at $5.5 million. You see here, Fogel's deal this year is $2.75 million against the cap. You're basically asking the Flyers to eat next year for whatever package you give them for at least half a cap hit in exchange for Warren Foegele and the rest of the package to make the salary cap this year work. You are, unless you somehow miraculously trade Jack Campbell, which, as according to Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic there a few days ago with that update, we aren't getting rid of Campbell in season. So for the Oilers right now, it's dollar in, dollar out, just as it has been the past little bit, unless you find some huge diamond in the rough. But the math works there. Obviously, that's where Fogel's playing right now for the Oilers, is on the right side next to Leon Draisaitl. I'm not one that would love to give up on Foegele right now. Again, maybe at the trade deadline, if he sputters off, that second line kind of falls apart in McLeod, Draisaitl, and Foegele. Maybe then we look at making that trade happen for potentially something like Foegele, a first, and Broberg for Konecny. Maybe an extra additional piece in there just to get Philly to eat that second year. But tough to say how that all maps out. Again, this is why I'm hitting this right off the hop. This is one that's going to evolve, right? This is one we got to look at a little bit later down the road, kind of like that Jake Gensel trade rumor that we had there the other day. This is not one that we have to action on today. Now, one we do have to more so action on today is, I think, the Cory Perry suspension came due today, or he's allowed to sign with teams or something. So so Cory Perry is now eligible to sign with anyone, was the last update I got today. And that is essentially going to look like one thing for the Edmonton Oilers. Two things, one idea. Evander Kane situation 2.0. We know a couple years back the Oilers signed Evander Kane under the midst of what was a tumultuous first half of the year for him. a bunch of crazy zany stuff in Evander Kane's life and across the NHL newsfeed. Well, Cory Perry, similar situation, not comparing the two or likening the two, but kind of how it's played out, kind of the exact same situation there for how the Oilers would scoop in. Now, the only reason I, as an Oilers fan, would be interested in Cory Perry over anyone else on our roster is, simply put, he'd be your Connor Brown replacement in that bottom six if, as we go back to this slide right here, you're adding two bottom six forwards and one of them is going to be Dylan Holloway. So when you've got right now a situation evolving with Evander Kane where he's been very up and down this year and he's currently riding a down streak and everybody's upset with him and everybody's thinking about trading him and all this, I think you're very fair, and especially in my chair right now, to be saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should look at adding Cory Perry just for that kind of exact element that Evander Kane is supposed to bring game in, game out. Physical edge, pestering kind of presence, but also some goal scoring and playmaking ability to allow the Oilers some offensive opportunity within the bottom six, which is exactly what we hired one Connor Brown to do for $4 million over the course of one season spread over two. So that's kind of where I'm looking at this one, friends, is, again, right, it's huge stuff. Travis Konecny potentially being an Edmonton Oiler this season, if he becomes available, would be absolutely massive. Same thing as Jake Guentzel, as we talked about earlier. And I like Travis Konecny being mentioned by Bob Stauffer a lot more than I like, say, Jake Guentzel being mentioned by insiders, because we've talked about Travis Konecny a lot. He's a guy I've loved for a long time. Again, when you talk about a guy who's putting up numbers on the Philadelphia Flyers, and oh, by the way, John Tortorella is your head coach, and you saw what he did against us the other game there against Philly, I'm going to want to get that guy on my team if he is available for the right cost. Obviously, the right cost, there's some salary cap implications. There's a second year. There's the Broberg situation. And of course, there's potentially maybe instead giving up Raphael Lavoie because he fits the Flyers scheme a bit better than a guy like Broberg after just getting Drysdale. But when it comes down to it, both guys I think are a very likely target. If I had to name my top two targets for the Edmonton Oilers right now in terms of forwards, I can't think of two better guys to name based on who I've talked about over the course of my kind of 5-6 year tenure here on Edmonton Oilers YouTube, talking about guys to trade for. So that would be my pitch to you. Not sitting here saying I want Cory Perry, but does he make sense? I think so, and that's exactly how Bob Stauffer says it. It's just something you got to contemplate 100% because it fits the scenario. We've done this before, Kazian. We've done it with Kane, and now we're doing it possibly with Cory Perry. And Travis Konecny is a guy that, at the end of the day, we're going to end up with Jake DeBrusk or Travis Konecny at some point. Why not this season? We've talked about those guys enough times over. So, friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Oh, by the way, we talked about Matthias Ekholm a million times before we acquired him, too. But thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you being aboard tonight. Now that I'm getting a little hyped up about things, I'm going to head on out of here and talk to you a little bit later on. But I am Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here for real this time.